we play a game?
Why, yes. I believe we shall.
Oh, I got a live one here.
Live from Little Rock, it's Shane Plays Geek Talk, a journey into the things we love. I'm your host, Shane Stacks. Thanks so much for listening, whether you're listening live on Saturday, June 2nd at 1 p.m. Central, 11 a.m. Pacific for my guest today, who I'll introduce here in a moment. So if you're listening live on 101.1 FM The Answer in the Little Rock, Central Arkansas area, or online via the stream at 1011fmtheanswer.com. So glad to have you. And also if you're listening by podcast or on YouTube or on Krypton Radio, delayed after the live show, then I just so much appreciate having you. I love both formats, and I love all my listeners, and there's people that listen a multitude of ways. So this is live radio again, first and foremost, talk radio. And there is a call-in number if anyone ever wants to call in and join the conversation. That's 501-823-0965. Once again, that's 501-823-0965. Or you can tweet me at Shane Plays, ShanePlays. And I do my best to monitor that, but live radio is like trying to run an entire orchestra as an octopus. So that, if you definitely want your entire... or if you definitely want your comment to make it on the show, call in 501-823-0965. But I do monitor the tweets and do my best to work that stuff in. So with no further ado, we're going to welcome back friend of the show, Gene Turnbow of Krypton Radio, calling in from lovely Los Angeles. Gene, how are you, buddy?
Oh, I'm awake and with you.
You're awakened with me. Are you like me? Are you a late night animal that doesn't get up at the crack of dawn if you don't have to?
Well, I'd prefer not to. I can possibly avoid it, but we run the Krypton Radio webpage is a news site as well, and we have to cater to the New York marketplace before anybody else. Yeah. So I'm up at 6 a.m. whether I like it or not.
Oh man. All right. Well, I'm if I ever, I'm a working man. I get up and go to work on the normal, 8 to 5, 9 to 5, 7 to whatever, depending on the individual day. But yeah, I'm not a morning person. I don't mind mornings, but if I can do my own thing, I'll stay up till 1, 2, 3, 4 in the morning, really easy, But anyway, that's not what we're here to talk about. Today, we're just going to have a fun, every now and then, I just like to have a fun day where we talk about news and geek topics and stuff like that with a friend of the show. And it just so worked out that you were available for today, which is good because in a minute, not at this exact moment, but in a minute, we're going to talk about your Mighty Aphrodite Kickstarter project for your Mighty Aphrodite animation project. So it worked out well to also be able to talk to you about that while your Kickstarter is going on. So, but I wanted to tell you that I'm glad that you've managed to get past your unfortunate hosting issues a few weeks back that were completely out of your hands. So hated to hear about that. Are you fully recovered at this point?
We're almost fully recovered. An awful lot of what the radio station does, it does by automated control. Like scheduling shows to appear at certain times or accepting uploads from third-party producers and putting them in the right time slots and things like that. Mm-hmm. And I have had to spend the last couple of weeks rebuilding all of those systems because we were doing them by hand before we automated it. Now we're back to doing it by hand until we get everything squared away. But yeah, it's been a ton of work.
Yeah, it sounds like it. And just real quick, why don't you remind, I talk about Krypton Radio every week on the show during my show notes, but why don't you either introduce or reintroduce, kind of give the elevator pitch on what Krypton Radio is for the listeners that may not be super familiar.
Sure. Krypton Radio is sort of a living archive of our time. It is a continuously evolving audio record of the stuff that makes our geek hearts go pitter patter.
Okay.
So we have music from science fiction and games and TV shows, going back to the dawn of the genre, and all the current stuff too. And we have talk shows and adventure serials and all sorts of things. And we're an internet radio station, not a podcast, but a station, which means we're on 24 hours a day, and we reach the entire planet. We're heard in 165 countries around the world. Nice.
So yeah, it is an online 24/7 geek radio station, basically. Not just, that's how I'd summarize it, although you're taking it, even a step further, and it's a summary of the things that makes our heart go pitter patter. Just like Shane plays, it is geek talk, but I say it's a journey into things we love, so
absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. It's the same idea, except we concentrate on the music.
Yeah. Yeah. And I would, if I had to, and this isn't going to be a complete, summary of what Krypton Radio is, but if I had to just super quick, I'd say it's kind of like if Dr. Demento, the old Dr. Demento show, was 24/7 with all those fun songs, but then you also get a lot of like other content, like talk shows or geek talk shows, and like you said, radio serials and just all kinds of other stuff. So now, do you still have, I know you got, do you still do Event Horizon?
Yes, we do. We do that every week. That's
okay.
Saturdays at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific.
Okay. And that's Krypton Radio's sort of flagship talk show, right?
Yeah, it's our sci-fi. It's like a convention panel, except without the convention.
Okay.
So we have guests from all walks of the creative world within science fiction and fandom.
Okay, and people can find Krypton Radio online at kryptonradio.com. And what are the other ways? I know you have an app, I believe.
Yes, we have a free player app that has a schedule of all of the shows that are upcoming, and it will notify you when the shows are coming up so that you don't miss anything. And all of the social media is tied up into it as well. And of course, you can play the station directly from the app, and it's free and available on all platforms.
Nice. Okay. Well, very good. All right. Well, I'm going to jump to some show notes real quick. And then after that, we're going to talk about many geeky things, including your Mighty Aphrodite animation project. I've got some Doctor Who news. I've got some other news out there, including, and I may have just gotten an article from Krypton Radio that's really cool about the Solo movie. We may spend some time on that. So just everybody sit tight for a second as I throw out these so fascinating show notes. So I mentioned earlier that you could tweet me at Shane Plays, ShanePlays. You can also find the Shane Plays website at shaneplays.com, ShanePlays.com. And if you're listening to this show by podcast or on Krypton Radio or on YouTube or anything like that, then the show notes for today's show will also be up there. So you can check that out and find links and all that to the things we're talking about today. And then last week's show is on the website and out on the podcast and everything. And that was Bob Bretal, who is the Guinness World Record holder for largest comic book collection. And, we talked about that a little bit, but really we just chatted comics and had a really nice time. Bob has a deep and abiding love of comics. And, it was a fun guy. And, and Gene, he's kind of in your neck of the woods. He's roughly an hour away. And, it's not Costa. Oh, I'm thinking it's near Irvine, California. It's right outside Irvine. Is it Costa Mesa?
Yeah, I think it's Costa Mesa.
It is Costa Mesa. So you guys are, and I know LA, it takes forever. He's like, they're just right outside. It takes a while, but relatively speaking, you're practically neighbors. The podcast of the
show is larger than some countries. So
yeah, and actually, it's much more, of a suburban sprawl than the downtown is not that big. And then, it's just this huge urban sprawl for, miles and miles and miles and miles. Anyway,
we don't actually suburbs. That's not a thing here.
Yeah.
It's just city.
It's just city. Yeah. It's just one long sprawl. So now, and of course, as I've mentioned a couple of times, this is a podcast in addition to the live show. It goes out on the blog at shaneplays.com, iTunes, Google Play Music, Stitcher, SoundCloud, YouTube, and more. And then last but never, ever, ever least, Shane Plays is also carried on Krypton Radio. Krypton Radio is SciFi for your Wi-Fi. And I believe that the tagline that we run on Krypton Radio is Shane Plays and Krypton Radio go together exactly like Superman and Kryptonite don't. I believe that's the thing.
That's
so that's it. All right. Shane Plays sponsor Arkansas RPG Con 2018 badge sales are now open. Vendor and sponsorship options are also open. So go to Arkansas or go to arpgcon.com for more info, and make sure to follow Arkansas RPG Con on Facebook. I believe this year it is going to be in August, if I remember right, in the Mall Mel area. Last year was great. Nice, fun, low stress role-playing game convention. Get together and just play some games and have some fun. So make sure not to forget about that. I'm pleased to be involved with that again with coordinator Carl Heil. Now, I've got to do this, Gene. If I don't banter with Zach, here's the deal. Gene. All right, the head of our news team, Sal, right? His grandmother and her dog Muffin. If I don't banter with Zach, they get really upset with me, and I get nasty postcards. And I get emails. We suspect at one time the transmitter may have been sabotaged. We're not sure. So this is very important. And one time I knew I was going to be pre-recording.
Who knew a dog named Muffin send email?
Well, this is you're not grasping the serious nature of this entire Muffin situation. So it's. Yeah, I think you're cutting out a little bit on. I think we might be having some Skype gremlins there.
Why don't have to reestablish the connection?
Yeah, Zach, why don't you call him and why don't you drop out and then call him right back real quick and see if we can get him. But yeah, so the head of the news team and Sal and his grand. Now remember, it's not Sal, it's his grandmother and her dog Muffin are the problem. I started months ago. Just, because Zach wants to be a sports analyst. Is that still what you want to do, Zach? Is be a sports analyst? Right. So he's giving me a thumbs up. So I was like, yeah, he's in there engineering the show and everything, but I want to make sure to give him some airtime. So I started bantering with Zach. And then suddenly, I think like 1 week I didn't for some reason. And the wrath of Sal's grandmother and her dog Muffin descended upon me. So had to go ahead and work that into the show. 1 week, I knew I wasn't going to be there the next week. We were pre-recording, so I double bantered with Zach, but that wasn't good enough. I was told that double bantering doesn't count. There must be a banter every show. So as I mentioned last week, we are at the third anniversary, Zach, of Shane Plays Geek Talk. Third anniversary. On May 30th, 2015, the very first episode of Shane Plays hit the airwaves. Mm-hmm. So that I believe Wednesday or Thursday, maybe it was Thursday, was the 30th. Let me look at my calendar here. But we have been on the air for 3 years now, which is a pretty big deal. Yeah, a lot of radio shows don't go that long, especially when they're kind of just kind of a fun 1 hour kind of weekly show like this, and not like some kind of huge enterprise. But yeah, so on Wednesday was the 30th. So on Wednesday we hit our third anniversary. So third anniversary of Shane Plays, and I was going to ask, because I know you're a huge fan of the show, Zach, massive fan, and you are just you are just a walking almanac of the trivia of all things Shane Plays. Do you know what the title of my very first episode was?
I have no idea.
No idea. It was Mad Max Ate My Pac-Man. That was the title of the very first.
Because the movie was out at the time?
Because Mad Max had just come out.
Yeah.
And the Fury Road.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, one of my very first segments was I talked about how much I loved Mad Max Fury Road and the practical effects, and I just loved it. I thought it was spectacular. And there was also like a Pac-Man related news story and some other stuff. So, and I just fired up the microphone and had some news items or whatever, and just jumped in. I don't think I had. I didn't start having guests on the show for another few weeks.
Okay.
And I remember I was like, very nervous and terrified the first time I had a guest, which was Hero U. It was from the Heroes Quest series. They were kickstarting a project, and that was my first guest. And it wasn't too long after. Hey, Gene, are you back with us on the phone?
Yes, I am.
Hey, there you go. You sound good enough. No, that's not terrible. I mean, Skype, I know you have that nice radio set up there at your Skype desk and all that, but that doesn't sound bad. I think we shall survive. I'm trying to remember, Gene, when did we hook up? I know it was fairly early into we've been working together for quite a while.
A couple of years now.
Yeah, it wasn't that. David Beatty from Mega Wars introduced us, so. Yeah, I think.
Okay, I'm back.
Okay, you are back.
It's been a while. We've been doing this a couple of years now.
Yeah. So and it's been a lot of fun, and it's been fun to watch Krypton Radio grow while Shane Plays does as well. So, but anyway, I'm going to cut to a quick break. When we get back, we're going to talk with further with Gene Turnbow of Krypton Radio. We're going to start off with this Mighty Aphrodite project he has going that's really cool, and then we're going to have some Doctor Who news and maybe some interesting things about the Solo movie on Shane Plays Geek Talk.
Comic book lovers, visit thewildstars.com today. From the mind of author and comic book industry expert Michael Tierney, it's not just a comic book, it's a comic book novel. The Wild Stars is sci-fi and so much more. Learn the explanations behind UFOs and space gods. This isn't the Twilight Zone. This is the region of the Milky Way galaxy known as the Wild Stars. We guarantee you've never read anything like it. The complete comic book novel took 20 years to tell, with one reviewer noting, the story of the Wild Stars stretches ambitiously across space and time, from small-town murders to the destruction of planets, with every event given multiple layers of meaning. If you haven't read The Wild Stars, you're missing out. Visit thewildstars.com today. The die is cast. Plunge into worlds of fantastic adventure where dragons lie and the undead stalk the shades of your mind's imagines. Where creatures of legend plunder wealth through the horror of their passage. Monsters grim and foul hold the ecstasy of gold and the renown of glory. All this and more awaits you and your friends in the unlimited, fantastic world of the Castles and Crusades role-playing game from Trollord Games. Visit your friendly local game store or Trollord.com to get your copy today. A rules-light, adaptable game that has stood the test of time. 12 years in constant publication with no new additions. Castles and Crusades is the original, easy-to-play attribute check system. Join us and unleash your imagination. Visit your friendly local game store or Trollord.com to get your copy of Castles and Crusades today. Shane Plays Radio is blessed to have sponsors, and we appreciate them very much. However, did you know that you can also support the show as an individual for as little as $1 an episode? Simply go to patreon.com/ShanePlays.
Hey, we're back with Shane Plays Geek Talk, a journey into the things we love. And I'm joined by Gene Turnbow of Krypton Radio. And you can always call in at 501-823-0965, or you can tweet me at Shane Plays, ShanePlays. And you just heard that ad for Comic Book Store and Collector's Edition with Michael Tierney. Also, and it talks about the Wild Stars, and Cursova Publishing has just teamed up with Michael, and they're running a Kickstarter for a Wild Stars graphic novel, and that just went live like a day or two ago. So I'll put links into that on the show notes. But you could search for WildStar's 35th anniversary time Warmageddon on Kickstarter, and you can find it. So, all right, Gene, tell us. Let's spend a couple of minutes and tell us about Mighty Aphrodite.
It's about the goddess of love herself. And she is stranded at a temple of Hera for 2,000 years. And she is released by an archaeologist named Ben, and she falls in love with him immediately. And then that's where the trouble starts.
So okay, and this is an animation project. This is an animated product, right? Right.
Yeah, it's a fully 3D animated web series. The episodes are about 5 minutes long each. And we found a way to produce these things for a cost of about $400 an episode, which is a jaw-droppingly low amount of money. And yet, they're fully 3D animated.
Nice.
We found a way to produce professional quality animation for a very low cost using tools that are normally used for explainer videos and things like that, training videos. But we found out that it has some rather remarkable expressive capability as well. And I think we may be the only people trying to produce an actual professional narrative in animation with this tool. So we're sort of pushing what the tool can do. And then in those cases where it can't do something we need, then we animate that by hand ourselves.
Okay, so the goal
result is.
Oh, please go ahead.
The net result is that we can produce these 5-minute cartoons for about 1% of the cost of a traditionally animated short subject.
I know you have your pitch video on Kickstarter, but is there any sample, footage or animation or, kind of a vertical slice that people could see to, kind of see the quality of what you're doing?
Well, if you go to the Krypton Radio YouTube channel, you can find it there. But
Okay.
If you go to mightyaphroditewebseries.com, it will take you to the Kickstarter page, and about halfway down on the page is the first full episode of Mighty Aphrodite.
Well, there you go. Doesn't get much better than that. You get a full sample of what you're supporting, and the goal is you've got that one episode, and then you've got 2 more that you're producing through the Kickstarter, and if you hit a stretch goal, which you're over halfway towards of $2,000, then you're going to do 6 episodes.
Right. And then for every $1,000 we get after that, we can do another 3 episodes.
Nice. Okay. Well, you immediately funded within, I can't remember. It was a very, within one day.
We funded within about 30 hours.
Right.
Just slightly over one day, but it's close enough to one day that, we round it down. We kind of round it down. We funded in a day. Well, yeah.
Right. See if, hey, Zach, see if you can go to, what was it? Would you say it was Mighty Aphrodite, the webseries.com? What was the name of that website again?
Mighty Aphrodite webseries.com.
See if you can go there, Zach, and find that first episode and see if we can just play like 5 or 10 seconds of the voice acting or something. So, folks, you can go to Kickstarter. It's Mighty Aphrodite, the animated web series, and the goddess of love returns to the human-run world after 2,000 years, and to her great surprise, falls in love. That's the main kicker there. Second episode, first episode's already done. Second episode involves Aphrodite talking things over with Zeus to get some fatherly advice, and the third episode will be about in rescuing. Pronounce this for me, Gene. Coquette.
That's close enough.
Okay.
Her name is Coquette, and she is the Egyptian goddess of twilight, and she is a new character in the series.
Nice. All right.
She's a sort of a returning character that crops up time and again.
Okay.
And Aphrodite and Coquette are besties.
Okay, they're besties. Okay, very good. So, all right,
which is weird because she's Greek and she's Egyptian.
Well, these things happen. So, now what was the what led you to want to do this? What was the genesis of this?
Oh, well, this is one of those weird projects where you don't plan it for years and get all the resources and get it all figured out, and then it emerges fully realized. This thing happened because I was playing with the animation tool, which is called Plotagon, by the way. Plotagon.com makes it. And I was doodling around. I was dead bored in the middle of the night, and I found myself making this first episode of Aphrodite, and it just sort of came out on its own. This is like eating kettle corn. And it worked so well that I said, hey, I think I've got something here.
Right. Yeah, that's cool.
And the first episode that you see on the Kickstarter page is very close to that original first draft.
The people you've shown, I mean, have you gotten some pretty good, feedback on it or do you have, are people like, oh, we definitely want more of this?
Well, the general reaction that I get when I show it to people is, where can I binge watch this?
Okay. And
they want to see the rest of the episodes, and they're very disappointed that I only have the one.
Gotcha. So you're doing your best to kickstart the ability to binge watch Mighty Aphrodite. So excellent. So
that's the idea. We want to make 14 episodes if we can, and that means we need to hit $3,000.
Now, why 14? Have you got the story kind of plotted out that far? Or?
Yeah, basically, it's $300 to $400 an episode on average. So by the time we hit $3,000, we've got enough for basically a full season that we could play one a week on a service. And at that point, you can talk about syndicating it someplace.
Okay, nice.
It's better if we have a batch of them, like 28 episodes or more than that, really, because at 5 minutes each, they're pretty short. So you need a bunch.
Right. Yeah, you need a lot of them. So, okay. All right. All right. So I got to move us on from there. I've got some other stuff that I want to cover, but we've got, as of June 2nd, there's 17 days to go on this. Folks, go to the Mighty Aphrodite, look for Mighty Aphrodite.
MightyAphroditeWebSeries.com, and it'll take you straight to the Kickstarter page.
Kickstarter. And now, did you say on the Kickstarter is where that first episode is listed? Or,
yes.
Okay.
Yes, it is.
You said it's about a third of the way down?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, there it is.
That's
yeah, the
correct.
web series pilot episode. So did you find that, Zach, by any chance?
It's under the heading, "The Proof is in the Hummus."
Yeah, I see it. All right. Do you see that now, Zach? All right. Why don't you play that, but like skip it forward to a little bit of the voice acting or something?
Where did you come from?
I'm Aphrodite. Are you Ben?
When I decided to come here, I didn't tell anyone. How did you know that?
I don't know. I just do. That's just how it works for me.
There you go. That's Mighty Aphrodite herself. It's just what she does, and that's how it works for her. Already funded, but let's get some more episodes out there. Look for Mighty Aphrodite, the animated web series on Kickstarter. So good luck with that, Gene. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're doing a lot of fun, geeky stuff out there. Now, Zach.
The actors.
Yeah.
The actors are Sean Crosby, who's our morning DJ on Good Morning Tatooine, and Mary R. Bergman Kreidler. Sorry. And and this is her first time doing voice acting, and she's just doing an amazing job.
Yeah, it sounds really good. So, okay. So here's what we're going to do. Zach, did we find that our classic Doctor Who clip? All right, we got some Doctor Who news. It's been a while, so let's rip off with that. All right. So it is, even though the third anniversary of Shane Plays was on the 30th, this is the first episode we've had since the anniversary. So this is basically the third anniversary. And to celebrate that, I have a trifecta of Doctor Who news. And I did this on purpose because I know that Gene is a fellow Doctor Who nerd. So I've got 3 cool news items here that we will talk about. And, you know, Gene mentioned this towards the beginning of the show, but Krypton Radio is also a news site, not just a radio station. And they cover Doctor Who news a lot. So, you know, if you hit that front page or follow their Twitter, there's a lot of news stories, you know, coming out. So you can also keep up with news there. Now, the first news item I have, and I'm going to do my darndest to go check this out. In theaters from Fathom Events. Are you familiar with this event they're doing on June 11th, Gene, with the Doctor Who event?
No, this one's news to me.
Okay. On June 11th, they're going to show, there's in celebration of the upcoming Blu-ray release of Tom Baker's complete first season of Doctor Who, they're going to, in theaters, Fathom Events on June 11th is doing a cinema-length director's cut of one of the most popular of all Doctor Who stories, Genesis of the Daleks. So you can actually go to the theater and watch Genesis of the Daleks with Tom Baker. And so,
that's a strange inversion.
Yeah.
Because this stuff all started out being the lowest budget television that you can imagine.
Yeah,
and now it's being projected digitally on movie screens 20 feet high.
Yeah, and dear goodness,
such an amazing thing.
Dear goodness, I love it so. All right, so it says, here's the synopsis. The fourth Doctor, Tom Baker, of course, who is, for classic Who, Tom Baker is basically the David Tennant, right? Because for the new Who, everyone loved David Tennant, and he was like a long-running Doctor and all that. So if you're not familiar with classic Who, and a lot of Doctor Who fans really aren't that familiar with classic Who. You know, they got when did the renewal happen? Was it 2004, 2005 when it came back on the air? How long has it been back on the air?
2009, I think.
Was it that late in the game?
Yeah, it's much more recently than that. Yeah.
No, you're right. Yeah, I'm getting. I worked at the same place 2 different times, and I remember talking to a coworker about it, and I was going to get confused with the first time I worked there. Yeah, you're right. Okay, so roughly 10 years. You know, it's 10 years or a little less. And a lot of people, their entire Doctor Who fandom is based on all of that, which there's nothing wrong with that. It's been great TV. But there's decades of Doctor Who stuff out there before that. And if you go see this, you know, you're not going to see the production values and the type of storytelling that you see in like modern TV. Doctor Who was, as Gene said, you know, it was low budget, SciFi serialized. So it would come on and like they would tell a story 30 minutes at a time over 5 or 6 episodes. So it was a completely different pacing and a completely different style of storytelling in TV. But I love it. I love classic Who. So just, you know, if you're a classic Who fan, Tom Baker fan, or you just want to, you know, you don't know much about the older Who and you just want to, you know, check something out. I think it's fun. So, and it says the runtime here is 1 hour and 50 minutes. So, here's the synopsis again. I started giving that a while ago and I forgot. It's the fourth Doctor, Tom Baker, and his companion, Sarah Jane Smith and Harry Sullivan, are transported thousands of years to the past to the ancient planet Skaro, where they are given a mission from the Time Lords to prevent the evil scientist Davros from introducing to the universe the most destructive race of killing machines ever created, the Daleks. So there you go. And this story arc introduced a lot of Doctor Who lore to Doctor Who in general. So any thoughts or geeking out on this, Gene, you want to share?
Well, I remember watching it when it was first being broadcast. I've been a Doctor Who fan since the late 70s myself.
Yep.
So Tom Baker was my first Doctor. And he was arguably one of the most popular ones. He had the role for something like 14 years.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he had it a long time.
A very long time. Yeah. I mean, he was, for a lot of people, I mean, he was Doctor Who. that was the Doctor Who they grew up with. So anyway, pretty cool. June 11th, go check it out. Fathom Events, Genesis of the Daleks. I'm going to try to make it if I can. I would really like to go do that. All right, next news item I have here. This also is a wonderful way to catch up with classic Doctor Who. Is Twitch is, and this story is courtesy Variety. This story is courtesy Variety.com by Todd Spangler. But Twitch is running a marathon of over 500 classic episodes of Doctor Who. I believe it started May 29th. They're having 12 hours a day for, I think, 6 or 7 hour daily blocks. And this is going to go for like 7 weeks or something like that. So they're going to broadcast a 6 to 7 hour block of Doctor Who. Then they will repeat it twice back to back. And then the next day they'll do that again. And they're going to do this for 7 weeks. And they're going to show over 500 episodes, that span 26 seasons, going all the way back to the show's inception in 1963 and up to 1989 when it went off the air when Sylvester McCoy was the Doctor. So pretty crazy stuff. I mean, I think it's neat in general. Like, you could go to Twitch right now and find some Doctor Who playing. So I think it's cool that people are having this chance to watch some classic Who. But at the same time that Twitch is doing it, that's interesting to me because, Twitch built itself up as a video gaming, site. And, and I know over the past couple of years, they've been expanding other types of content, but that's pretty interesting to me. So it sounded like you knew about this one, Gene.
Yeah, this one I knew about. I think we published an article about it as well. This is not the first time that they've run some marathon of classic TV series, but it's certainly the most prominent title that I can think of that they've done. I think it's about the third time they've done it. And they have this pre-show where they have a Doctor Who experts on and panelists, and some of the original companions are going to be on it. And it just looks like a lot of fun. It
does. And now here's a statement from Twitch itself. Says Doctor Who, in its clever take on sci-fi, exemplifies the type of adjacent content to gaming that has resonated with the Twitch community, said Jane Whedon, Director of Business Development at Twitch. So they see this as it's adjacent content that resonates. And that's, honestly, that's what I try to do with Shane Plays is most podcast, radio shows, whatever, they focus on one topic and do that and build an audience that way. I want to try to represent the entire spectrum of what people are geeky about, because for me personally, one, I like to expose people to new stuff, and talk about the stuff that I love. And I love a spectrum of things. But two, if I just did one content, like as much as I love, for example, D&D and tabletop role-playing game, if all I did every week was a show about that, I would get bored. I don't want to get into one little narrow thing. That doesn't mean that I won't do side podcasts or something or YouTube stuff about one topic, but the show itself, I want to, just like Krypton Radio is, goes across the spectrum there. So I would get tremendously bored just covering just one thing. So anyway.
Well, the idea of adjacent content is a fascinating one, and it kind of defines Twitch. I mean, it allows it democratizes the media, for one thing. It lets just anybody get on and present anything that they find is neat or enjoyable or exciting.
Right. All right. So exactly. Okay. So final Doctor Who news item here, and then I'm going to get us to a break, and we're going to talk a little solo stuff with the assistance of Krypton Radio. Now this is from WeGotThisCovered.com, and the author is Christian Bone, and they start right off the bat saying that this is not verified. Okay, they're saying this is a rumor, but the headline is Doctor Who Season 11 trailer is said to drop this month, and Captain Jack may return. So, of course, we have the upcoming Doctor Who. It's Jodie Whittaker, the first female Doctor. She's officially been the Doctor since Christmas. They've been working on the new season of Doctor Who. We haven't seen any actual footage from it except, that one little teaser clip. And evidently it's coming back in October. So we'll, look forward to seeing that. But it says a rumor of uncertain origin has snowballed on social media, with it being claimed that the BBC has scheduled the first trailer to land on June 18th. Apparently, it'll be shown on BBC One following England's first match in the FIFA World Cup against Tunisia. So on top of that, some details of the teaser have also been revealed, and they're very exciting indeed. As this is just our first peek at season 11, the trailer isn't expected to be that long, with rumors putting it 25 seconds. However, it'll have a lot in it. So one fan who claims to have seen the teaser stated that it also contains a shot of not one but two classic monsters in the form of Daleks and Centaurans, who were previously revealed to be part of the season. And the 13th Doctor will also apparently say the line, "I need you all with me." Finally, and most excitingly, it'll allegedly unveil the return of John Barrowman as fan favorite character, Captain Jack Harkness. So again, all rumor. Okay. So there's, I'm not saying that this is going to happen. I'm not saying those are spoilers. This is, and I don't often just talk about rumors on the show, but since, I had some Doctor Who news anyway, and it was some pretty specific details. So possibly, I don't know. Had you heard anything along those lines, Gene?
I had heard a rumor that John Barrowman might have been doing something new with Doctor Who, and this might have been it.
It could be. We shall see.
So
all right.
It's sounding like it might be real.
Could be.
I don't know.
Could be. All right. Well, as much as I love Doctor Who, for time reasons, I got to move us forward. See what I did there? All right. We're going to cut to a break. When we get back, we're gonna talk a little bit about some interesting solo information, courtesy with an assist from Krypton Radio. But first of all, some goblins are your friends. Game Goblins is Central Arkansas's premier retailer of Magic the Gathering, Warhammer 40K, board games, card games, RPGs, miniatures, and hobby accessories. Call Game Goblins at 501-224-GAME or visit them online at gamegoblins.com. That's 501-224-GAME or gamegoblins.com. And they're doing, again this year, a free RPG Day event. I believe it's on June 16th, and I'll be doing a live remote from there like I did last year, and I'll also be running a game of Dusk City Outlaws, which is basically a heist movie set in a fantasy world like D&D in the evening. But anyway, conveniently located 1121 South Bowman, right on the corner of Bowman and Canis in West Little Rock, and staffed by friendly employees, Game Goblins has expanded their store size, and there's plenty of room for exciting inventory and tables for play space. You'll like that space because Game Goblins has gaming events every day of the week. For all of your gaming needs, I heartily recommend Game Goblins. Make sure to check out their customer loyalty program that rewards you based on your actual purchases. Game Goblins earns your business and keeps it. First-time customers mention Shane Plays and receive $10 off your purchase of $50 or more. Tell them Shane Plays sent you. Hey, welcome back to Shane Plays Geek Talk, a journey into the things we love. I'm Shane. My name is Shane Stacks. I'm Shane Stacks, your host. Glad to be with you. Thanks for listening. Joined by Gene Turnbow of Krypton Radio, and we've been having fun today talking about his Mighty Aphrodite animation project, which you can check out on Kickstarter right now. The goddess of love returns to the human-run world after 2,000 years and falls in love herself. They're already funded, but keep supporting them so we can get more episodes of the Mighty Aphrodite web series now, or the animated web series, I should say. Also, real quick news bit here. I'm not going to go deep into this. Just let people know that D&D Wizards of the Coast is doing their Stream of Many Eyes right now. And it's been revealed that the newest storyline is going to be called Waterdeep Dragon Heist. So it's going to evidently be more of a role-playing and urban-based adventure than like the typical adventure or whatever. And, ironically, I was talking about before the break, I was going to be running Dust City Outlaws at Free RPG Day at Game Goblins on the 16th. This evidently, is kind of a heist theme. So... there you go. So you can check that out. Also, Fallout 76 has been announced. We don't know a lot about it. We don't know a lot about it, but it is a new Fallout game. And Bethesda did this really creative marketing campaign where they just did a web stream on Twitch for 24 hours of a Fallout bobblehead in front of TV that was showing a test pattern, and like 140 million people just at various times just watched that. So pretty smart marketing. Okay. So there is a news item or an article on Krypton Radio right now, and it's called "All the Callbacks I Caught in Solo: A Star Wars Story." And it has a big spoiler warning on it, and it was posted by Ryan Miorelli. Did I say that correctly?
Yes, you did.
Okay, Ryan Miorelli. Now, I haven't done a full show on Solo, but I talked about it a little bit last week with Zach. It's just a fun summer sci-fi action flick. With a lot of nerd love in there for Star Wars fans. That was kind of my take on it. It wasn't a big epic movie. It wasn't horrible. It was just a fun sci-fi action movie, and that was kind of my take on it. I think Zach, you're seeing. Yeah,
it wasn't too deep. It was basically a heist movie.
It was,
and those are fun.
Yep.
And it may not have been the jewel in the crown of the Star Wars franchise, but Ron Howard basically saved the day, swooped in and saved.
That's what I keep. Yeah, he was brought in. They were only like 3 weeks out from finishing principal filming, photography, or whatever, and the original directors were let go, and he over creative differences or whatever, and he came in, and reshot a lot of it. I thought it was a fun movie. It had some cool stuff in it. Probably the biggest spoiler I can throw out there. So if you don't want spoilers, go nah. Or just don't listen to the rest of this episode. Sorry. But it has been out over a week now. They unequivocally reestablished into Star Wars canon that Han shot first. And I love that. So, oh man, poor Zach. You haven't seen it yet. And we're doing I'm sorry, man.
It doesn't.
I'm doing this whole bit.
Oh, Christ.
That's the perils of being an engineer on a geeky radio show, isn't it?
You can tell as many spoilers as you want, but
okay.
It does, until I see it, that's the way
all
it
right.
goes.
Well, Han powers up into Super Saiyan 3 and fights Darth Vader.
Yeah, in Shane's defense, what he just said, you could interpret in a number of different ways.
Yeah. But I did love that.
That gets you off the hook a little bit.
All right. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to tease people with a couple of the factoids that Mr. Ryan shared with the call-outs and Easter eggs. But people go to Krypton Radio, look for and it'll be on the show notes, all the callbacks I caught in Solo: A Star Wars Story. Now, let's see. Let me pick a couple out here that are pretty neat. The Calrissian Chronicles. There's one of the stranger reveals of Solo is that Lando is a narcissistic YouTuber. So there's a scene where he's basically speaking into a holo recorder and recording his memoirs. And in this log, he spouts off numerous tidbits of stuff that he did, referencing things that came from the Lando Calrissian Adventures, a 1983 trilogy of novels that were about him back in 1983. So that was fun.
Wow. Cool.
Yeah. So that was pretty neat. Now this was neat. There's a sequence in the movie where they're fighting a war on a very muddy kind of planet. And it turns out that's, I didn't catch this in the movie. Turns out that's Mimban, which was the setting for the 1978 novel Splinter of the Mind's Eye by Alan Dean Foster. So I didn't even catch that. Yeah, I didn't even catch that. Now I did catch, they talked about Bosk, who was the sort of lizard bounty hunter from Empire Strikes Back. But it says, when Val mentions who she'd rather have on the Vandor 1 train heist than Han and Chewbacca, most fans probably caught she mentions Bosk. But they also mentioned somebody named the Zan sisters. And it says, while no characters by that name have appeared in Star Wars media to date, the 1996 novel Shadows of the Empire features two Terras Kasi, and that's Star Wars martial arts, masters by the name of Zan and Zu Pike. They're sisters and they're outlaws, so very likely, that's what they were referring to. Let's see. Aura Singh. So Aura Singh, if people don't know, is this very visually iconic character from the Star Wars Expanded Universe. She's got a shaved head, but she's got kind of a mohawk. And it says short, and Tobias, one of the characters in this movie Solo, evidently killed Aura Singh, to which Lando Calrissian is very grateful because he owed her a lot of money. So, there was a nice little thing in there. And then finally, I think this is all we're going to have time here. Yeah, we got 2 minutes left here. This was probably the one that I thought was the neatest, Gene. So there's a droid in this movie called L337, L3 for short. And at a certain point in the movie, they integrate that droid's personality into the Millennium Falcon. And I was like, oh, that's why in The Empire Strikes Back, C-3PO is like, where did your ship learn to talk? Because he's like, it's very, whatever, like it's almost offensive or something like that. Well, the movie went even one deeper, and I didn't even catch this. It says when she first interfaces with the ship before the jump to Kessel, she makes sounds that were originally heard in The Empire Strikes Back when C-3PO tries to communicate with the ship's computer. So they took that even deeper. So, and there's,
the attention to detail is just awesome.
Yeah. Even there's an entire Star Wars story group that makes sure that there's all these little tidbits and details and everything left in there. What, Zach, how much time we got left? 56. Darn it. All right. Yeah. I really don't have time to go into any more of these. But folks, go check out this. It's all the callbacks I caught in Solo, a Star Wars story on Krypton Radio. There's a ton more. It's so much more interesting than what I was able to just barely. I mean, he goes into so many things that I did not catch during the movie. All right, Gene, I got to do this to you. It's time for the bad joke of the week. Are you ready?
Oh, boy. I'm braced.
All right. To celebrate Doctor Who, here it is. Gene, I was going to tell you a time travel joke, but you didn't like it.
Okay.
All right.
That one was pretty. Usually you tell some stinkers, but that one was pretty good.
They're supposed to be stinkers. All right, folks, we'll catch you next time on Shane Plays.
What are you waiting for?
Just touch these two strands together, and the Daleks are finished. Have I that right?
To destroy the Daleks, you can't doubt it.
But I do. You see, some things could be better with the Daleks. Many future worlds will become allies just because of their fear of the Daleks.
It isn't like that.
But the final responsibility is mine. Mine alone. Listen, if someone who knew the future pointed out a child to you and told you that that child would grow up totally evil, to be a ruthless dictator who would destroy millions of lives, could you then kill that child?
We're talking about the Daleks, the most evil creatures ever invented. You must destroy them. You must complete your mission for the Time Lords.
Do I have the right? Simply touch one wire against the other, and it's it. The Daleks cease to exist. Hundreds of millions of people, thousands of generations can live without fear, in peace, and never even know the word Dalek.
Then why wait?
Shane Plays Radio is blessed to have sponsors, and we appreciate them very much. However, did you know that you can also support the show as an individual for as little as $1 an episode? Simply go to patreon.com/ShanePlays.